Hey, Tim.
Hey, Caitlin.
How you going?
Oh, doing all right.
That's good. Back again.
Here we are. Round 2.
Round 2. Yeah, so we've got a big week coming up.
Yeah, Assange.
Yeah, Assange is facing what may be his final trial in the UK before extradition, or hopefully not before extradition. There could be some miracle, always holding out for a miracle, that the case is thrown out and he walks free.
And it could happen. It should happen, obviously. But it also, it's really damaging to the United States, to its image. It's entirely possible that the United States and the UK could come to an agreement. Well, let's just cancel it here.
And it seems like that Australia is finally putting some pressure on. It's weak. It's a weak source. I'm not saying it's
strong for Australia, though.
Strong for Australia, yeah.
Strong for the imperial lapdog.
A majority of the Australian Parliament voted to request that charges against Julian Assange be dropped and that he be allowed to return home here to Australia. So it was something like 86 to 42 or something, which is a strong showing because there was definitely zero movement. Even up to October of last year, remember our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese? He actually was all fitted out to go and see Mr. Biden and had a bit of leverage because we had indulged the Americans by swapping our submarine deal from France to the Yanks at great expense to ourselves and with zero benefits to us. So we hoped that Anthony Albanese would go over there and say, well, hang on, we scratched your back. How about you scratch ours? But apparently he didn't say a thing. So that was just in October of last year.
God, October of last year feels like forever ago.
It does. That's true.
It's been a long fucking 4 months.
Right. A lot has changed. I think a lot of eyes have opened. That is my hope.
The Empire knows it has a lot of critical eyes on it. It doesn't need one more fucking thing.
Right.
Maybe this is important enough. Maybe crucifying a journalist. I mean, the thing is, they've already done such horrible things to him. They've already stolen how many years of his life?
Over a decade.
In both the embassy and then in Belmarsh. So they've already made an example of him and shown what they'll do to you if you report unauthorized facts about the U.S. empire. So they might just be content with that. They were content to slap the shit out of Manning for a little while, and then they were like, that's enough.
Yeah.
This starts to hurt our image after a while.
That's right. It's a head on a stake type thing, that they might consider that they have sufficiently enough destroyed WikiLeaks and the idea of WikiLeaks.
Right.
And ruined the man. I think that was important to them because he is something of an amazing being, Mr. Assange. Like, he really does have an incredible mind that was fantastic at compiling all the facts that were leaked to him. He was WikiLeaks in many, many respects. He knew where all the bodies were buried. And particularly when he was on Twitter, like when he was online, he was even more trouble to them than perhaps the leaks were. Because in general, the general public is not that interested in Xerox journalism,
Right.
It tends to kind of receive these leaks in we all knew that sort of offhand sort of way. It can be reasonably easy to dull down the impact of a leak. But when you have someone as kind of charismatic as Assange with the ability to tell the story the way that he could, with all the facts at his fingertips, that is a real problem for the empire. And I think they may decide that they have rid themselves of that problem.
Right. I mean,
without actually putting him away.
Without actually having to do the thing that everyone is terrified that they'll do, which would cause international outcry and everything. Just this long, drawn-out, excruciating process where they've kept him locked up for 12 years,
It does track, doesn't it? This is how the empire does things.
They operate in the margins. They do these weird finagling manipulations without really stepping out into the light. Usually. There's sometimes the Iraq invasions and stuff, but usually they prefer to keep their nice guy face, their nice guy mask intact. And already anyone who wants to reveal inconvenient facts about the empire, anyone who wants to publish leaked documents from the Pentagon or wherever, now has to ask themselves, am I willing to not see my children for 12 years?
Yeah.
Am I willing to trade this? Am I
Right.
willing to not see my wife for 12 years? Am I willing to sacrifice all of that for this one thing? And that'll weed out most of the inconvenient reporters.
Absolutely.
Almost all of them.
Yeah. We see how they've treated Daniel Hale and Edward Snowden, whistleblowers and leakers and journalists who really step out into the light. Yeah, I think an example has been made. So that may be enough for them. And, honestly, I hope it is. Like, I hope that Stella gets her husband back and the kids get their dad.
Yeah.
He's done so much for the world and for humanity.
He never has to do another fucking thing, honestly.
Yeah. No, yeah. He's done his work. And still WikiLeaks is still a wonderful treasure trove of documents.
Yeah.
That's still around. People generally don't leak to it anymore.
Or at all.
Yeah. Or at all. Yeah. The only leaks we hear now are those fake ones, where they...
Hey, guess what? We have some secret insider information from the CIA. We just obtained it somehow. Turns out Russia's very, very bad. Bad Russia, bad. Also China and Iran.
You guys, you wouldn't believe it. The secrets I know.
You wouldn't believe this leak I got.
Yeah.
It's mostly of that variety, and mostly is totally fine to go through the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Well, that was one of the most annoying things. I mean, there was so many annoying things about Assange and, his struggle and everything. But people would say during the 2016 election, when he was causing a lot of problems with the Podesta emails, why don't you leak about Trump?
Why don't you leak about Trump? Why aren't you printing out Trump information? As though he's like in the computers hacking it.
Or omniscient or something. Like, he can just...
And as though leakers aren't going to all these other outlets constantly, both before and after the election.
And getting paid money for it. And kudos and everything. And usually not even having to hide themselves. That's not... That wasn't the purpose of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks was very important information.
That the powerful didn't want revealed.
Want you to, like actual journalism.
That actually benefited from anonymity.
Not made up dossiers about peeing Russian prostitutes and stuff like.
Not a lot of critical thinking going on.
No.
By design.
By design at the time. And there was a lot of mindless repeating of just lines. There was all sorts of angles on Assange at that time to smear his character.
And it's important not to forget that. It's important not to forget that for years, these fucking bastards smeared him so aggressively.
Yeah.
Unforgivably. These fucking members of the press, these ostensibly journalists.
Yeah.
Doing everything they can to fucking James Ball.
That little turd.
Every excuse they could make to spin this guy in some sort of way and crucify his image and make people feel he's untrustworthy, and it would actually be fine if he was dragged out of that embassy by force.
Right. Yep. They did. They worked every angle.
Once it actually happened, they all shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of them were saying, he can just walk out of there anytime he wants, he wants. So that kind of ruined that story. Because we also have to remember that Assange knew this was coming, and that was why he was in the embassy. He was there because he knew that the Americans had decided that they were going to make an example of him and that they wanted to extradite him. And that was in play and in process. There were documents. He knew that. But everyone was pretending.
It was like Israel's nukes. It was one of those things everyone knows is happening, but they pretend they don't know.
Right, because it was not convenient to the smearmeisters that he should be actually doing something upstanding and that was in everyone's interest, in the highest interest of journalists.
No, they just pretended he was hiding away, enjoying a pleasant holiday in this luxurious embassy to avoid rape charges.
Rape charges, yeah, which was just such a... and when you went down that rabbit hole, there was nothing after nothing after nothing about that. Like, anyway... I get a little upset. But we wrote our own dossier on the Assange smears where we addressed every single one of them.
5 years ago now, almost.
Yeah. There was something like 38 or something smears. 38 angles that we
The most common
encountered
ones.
regularly.
Yeah.
And we had researched, and so we could debunk them clearly.
Yeah, I think it's just called debunking all the Assange smears. If anyone wants to look at that in the coming days, maybe it'll be useful to you.
Yeah.
A lot of it's obsolete now because all the smearmeisters shut down and are keeping their heads real low now.
Right, yeah. But it's good to have like a refresher because there are still a lot of people out there who this is not important to them. Actually, my daughter was handing flyers out at Flinders Street Station.
Proud mama.
Yeah, I'll just drop that little humble brag.
Yeah, handing out Assange flyers.
Yeah, and she said that at least one guy came up to her and said, "Is he still in jail?" I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they sort of
didn't really believe her when she said yes.
Right. They just sort of assumed that it would have resolved itself, and if it hadn't, it would have been like a big story.
Yeah, they would have known about it. It would have been in the papers. Of course, it's not going to be in the papers. Not in Australia.
Not to the extent it should be, anyway.
Well, it's such a closed shop here. It's such a little stinky club.
The media here is worse than in the States.
Yeah.
It's this duopoly of Murdoch and this sort of liberally Murdoch.
Right.
they own all the press except for like the BBC, which is also the ABC, which is also horrible. It's just the Australian BBC.
Right, yeah. There are some true believers still in the ABC, but that's about it. They fight the fight, but generally it's a real club.
Yeah, and they can't fight the fight too hard or they get fired, like that lady.
Yeah, Latouf.
Who got fired for retweeting a Human Rights Watch article about Palestine and Israeli apartheid or something like that.
Yeah. I think it was just facts about how many people had been killed. It was nothing.
Unfucking believable. They fired her, and they said they fired her for that.
Yeah.
They admitted to it, to her face.
Yeah, with no commentary.
Just retweeted a Human Rights Watch article, like this really mainstream, generally pretty pro-empire bias, but because it said some inconvenient facts, indisputable facts about what Israel was doing.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, we still act like a country town. It's all about who your mates are and everyone knows everyone. So, except us.
Yeah, we don't know anybody.
We've made no.
We actively avoid making connections.
Right. We went to an MEAA drinks once.
Yeah, just sort of awkward for everyone.
Yeah, we talked to Helen Razor again because she's awesome.
We like her.
Anyway, so that is coming up. So our Wednesday, Thursday, and everyone else's Tuesday, Wednesday. We will be following. My heart will be beating out of my mouth again.
Yeah.
Remember that beautiful moment, though? Sometimes you have a beautiful moment and just, it keeps you going. No extradition. Mary Kostakidis, she was listening in.
Oh, yeah, one of the case where the judge said no extradition because of mental health concerns or something.
Yeah, so that was actually back at the magistrate's court, I think.
Yeah, and then that was overturned.
Yeah, and then that was overturned.
In a rather anticlimactic fashion.
Yeah, but we did have a moment.
Yeah. They decided he hadn't paid quite enough yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe he has paid now.
God, they're such sick fucks.
Yeah. Yes. So what about some questions, Timothy?
Yeah. We asked Twitter for some questions to answer on our podcast. The most common question that came up from a lot of people said, you have a podcast? What is it called? Where can I find it? Where is this podcast?
Well, you've obviously found it if you're listening to this. So
yeah.
This is probably not information. If you are hearing this, you probably don't really need to know.
Okay, but if they want to, they might have found it on Substack or something.
Type things.
Yeah. So yes. Where can they find it if they want to subscribe to it or anything?
Well,
Spotify,
all the
right?
usual places. Yeah, it's on everything. I think
Spotify,
Google Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts.
Substack has its own podcast. SoundCloud. We're on Stitcher, whatever that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can pretty much find it anywhere. I don't actually know how to change the name from going rogue. I mean, I've changed it on all the kind of superficial ways, but often if you plug in going rogue, Caitlin Johnston,
It might come up.
it's actually easier to find it.
Than Caitlin Johnston podcast.
Yeah, back when I was a rogue journalist.
Right. Also, probably best to just be on our Substack, right?
The Substack newsletter will be the best because this is going to be it's not going to be a regular thing. I mean, it'll be regular enough, but like it's not going to be every day. So
Yeah, maybe Caitlin Johnston.1.
yeah, is the Substack newsletter. And if you get on that, then you'll get a little heads up every time we post one.
So that's Caitlin Johnston's name, but all one word, but with a dot before the last three letters.
Yeah.
Caitlin Johnston.1. All right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
So Kelly Green asks, where do you get your news and how best to parse fact from fiction? And relatedly, Martin Diem asks, how do you keep yourselves informed? How much attention do you pay to traditional media? How can we see through the smokescreen?
Well, surprisingly, we actually pay a lot of attention to mainstream media.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, because it's, mainly our focus is on attacking propaganda. So you have to know what the propaganda is.
To attack the propaganda, you have to go where the propaganda's at.
Yeah, but also, there's a lot of factual stuff on the news. Often the way it's framed is disingenuous, but the hard raw data is usually there. There may be some omissions of data.
Yeah, that's generally how it is. They'll tell half-truths, they'll leave out stuff, but they won't fabricate whole cloth lies. They might regurgitate whole cloth lies from some intelligence agency, but they themselves will not make one up.
Yeah.
So like just today,
it's very informative, actually. Once you have a fairly solid view of the world where you understand what all the players are attempting to do, what their agendas are and what they want, you can listen to mainstream news and glean the facts and see the spin as well.
Right. I mean, like just today, they came out with the news about how Egypt is building this enclosed area for potential refugees who flee Rafah. That's really important information, and it came out in the Wall Street Journal. You see stuff like that happen all the time. There's these raw nuggets of information that you can use to begin to form your understanding. You will not form an accurate understanding if you just take the words that they're giving you verbatim. You need to develop some media literacy and understand where the spin is happening and what they're not saying and what they're emphasizing and de-emphasizing, which the Gaza massacre has been really great for.
It's been a masterclass in that.
Yeah, everyone's been learning really fast.
Really quickly.
About how media bias works when they see, a 6-year-old child walks into bullet headlines or whatever. Civilians are killed by blasts. In Russia and Ukraine, they're killed by Russian airstrikes. The Russians drop the bombs on them, and the bombs are Russian, and the explosions are Russian, and the Russian explosions kill the civilians.
You can never miss where these explosions are coming from and who actually did them and what their purpose was. But yeah, when they come from Israelis, they just kind of rain down from the sky. It's like weather, It's
a little balmy out.
Yeah, you should probably take an umbrella because it's a bit balmy out.
It's been really good for that. It's been really good for helping to inform people's literacy and the way they frame things, the way they talk about how Hamas was an atrocity committed by terrorists, and they were murdered and they were butchered and they were slaughtered. And you never hear those sort of words used for this genocide that's happening.
There was a bit of a study done.
Yeah, The Intercept.
Right. Slaughter was used 100-something plus times or whatever when it was talking about October 7, but twice or something.
It's like a 50 to 1, 100 to 1 ratio or something like that, where they use these extremely emotive words when talking about what Hamas did, or as opposed to what the IDF is doing.
And when you look at it, October 7 was one day, and it's been 130-something days of Israel raining bombs down on children. It should be the opposite.
It should be. It's because it's way more, and it's also urgent because the thing that happened in the past, no matter how bad you want to believe it was, it happened already.
Right.
It's done. It's no longer a threat. The thing that happened already happened. It's in the past. It's now months and months in the rear view, whereas there's a thing that is currently happening
that urgently needs to stop. Obviously, we need to make it known what is happening so it can stop. That's the purpose of language. The purpose of language is not to bring up the past over and over and over again in order to facilitate more murderous outrage.
That's exactly what they do, though. They're always like, oh, so guys, it turns out they put a baby in the oven several weeks ago. You remember that bad thing that happened? It was a little bit worse than you heard.
Right.
And then much, much later, oh, guys, hey, guys, guess what? They were raping the women. There was a whole lot of raping happening. It was just rape. Months later, they'll come out with it because there's nothing new bad happening that Hamas is doing. So they need to keep making up these things to
Rolling
make
it out.
to act as though Hamas, to create the emotional feeling that Hamas just did a new horrible thing,
Right.
even though it's months in the past,
Right.
And they'll have to keep doing that. They say, oh, guys, UNRWA. Oh, it turns out UNRWA is Hamas. Then UNRWA was part of October 7th also,
Right.
and then after a while, they're gonna have to say, and also Hamas ate a baby. They ate a baby, ate him up while they were raping the baby. They were raping the baby and eating it simultaneously. It was terrible.
Yeah. But, and also 3 or 4 days or maybe a week or two later, you find out in the small print, that didn't really happen. That wasn't really true.
Yeah,
Actually, we looked into it.
We
It wasn't
can't
really true.
actually stand by that.
Yeah.
You guys. But all the Israel apologists will still we still get people saying the beheaded babies and put a baby in an oven stuff, even though everyone has basically admitted that that's complete bullshit.
Today,
Israeli
we had comments on
media,
that.
people in the Israeli government, they just,
Yeah, and they used old numbers like 1,400 and...
Yeah, 1,400 innocent civilians.
Yeah, yeah,
All killed by Hamas.
Right.
When you know every single part of that is false.
yeah. Oh, my God, it's excruciating, isn't it? But that's how it works, and it has been a really good education into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like these mindlessly repeating these slogans over and over and over again so that they become true.
Yeah, our brains can't really tell the difference between the sensation of hearing something that you've heard a bunch of times before and the sensation of hearing something that you know to be true.
Right. So that is employed over and over and over again.
Deliberately. They know exactly what they're doing.
Right. Well, it's actually psychological warfare.
Yeah, it's very aggressive narrative manipulation. And there's people that are learning about it for the first time.
Yeah.
Even people who were just sort of, a little bit shit-lib, kind of on the left, the Bernie Sanders Democrats and stuff that are able to see this and learn about it now.
And a lot of young people.
Yeah, so many young people, so many young eyes are getting open to this. Everyone's getting a real crash course in imperial propaganda.
You know what I love about the kids too, though? They grew up on the internet, and so their understanding of trolling is way more sophisticated than a millennial or a Gen Xer. They really understand all the ways that you can troll someone, from concern trolling to all these different aspects of it, and so they recognize all of these strategies that are being used in this psychological warfare. But with regard to where we get our news, who's our favourite? We love...
Anti-war is really good.
Yeah, I was going to say. And Dave DeCamp's wrap-up every day is essential viewing.
Yeah, if you want to just stay on top of the day-to-day movements of the empire and what it's doing, if you're sort of a foreign policy follower or whatever, you got to be on anti-war. And Dave DeCamp is the most prolific writer there. He's really good.
Yeah, but he also does these YouTubes where, like, whatever's is fresh on the site, he'll give a little wrap up of it.
Yeah, Consortium News is good.
Oh yeah, they're great. Mint Press News,
Mint Press, The Gray Zone, Counterpunch has some good stuff. Mainly for the day-to-day news, it's mainstream and anti-war and individual reporters on social media.
right?
Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal.
Yeah, analysis in this day and age generally comes from individuals, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's no one platform that you can say, yeah, they're all good.
Yeah.
Really. But yeah, Mate's good. Blumenthal. Greenwald.
Yeah.
Ben Greenwald. Ben Norton we like.
occasionally there is a good piece on The Intercept, like we were talking about that before. There's
Right.
some
They're a lot, they've been really good on Israel Palestine. They're not so good when there's other stuff going on, Russia, Syria, or whatever.
right, yeah.
They've been pretty good on Israel.
They've got that
and
James
Gaza.
Rising guy who,
Yeah, and a bunch of them, a bunch of really kind of manipulative sleazes.
yeah.
It's that oligarch money.
Yeah. If you follow our Twitter, we tend to retweet the people that we're reading. And also every now and then we'll do a tweet where we give everyone the handles of the people that we follow.
Yeah,
I haven't done that for a while, actually. We should do that soon.
we could do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a list of people, but yeah. Anyway, what I was saying: Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, off the top of my head, Ben Norton, Abby Martin,
Oh, yeah.
Rania Kalek. These are just the top ones.
Katie Halper, I'm on her Patreon.
Katie Halper's really good for Israel, Palestine, and analysis. And yeah, a bunch of other people that will be embarrassed for not having mentioned. It's really hard. It's hard to do in real time, but that's basically it. It's mainstream combination of mainstream media, indie media, and social media, and you get a feel for it. You get a system down where now we don't even really think about it. The information just sort of flows in, and we synthesize it kind of intuitively.
Right. We've got a news list that we use on our Twitter is very good. And you can kind of prune it as well.
Yeah,
That's a good thing to get started for yourself, I think.
You can make a Twitter list, just custom made, that has the people that you like on it, and it helps you avoid the stupid algorithm that feeds you up Nazis and
all sorts of fucking shit now.
cute kitten videos and whatever worthless bullshit Elon Musk wants to show you.
What's the other part of
how do you parse fact from fiction?
Okay, well, that is a deep question. We've done some stuff on that actually recently, some articles about how you've got to actually, in terms of the empire and in terms of any manipulative entity, you need to keep an eye on their actions and turn the volume down on their words. If you can see with fresh eyes where all the resources are going, who happens to be benefiting from even accidents. I'm thinking Nord Stream.
Right.
Oh, whoops-a-daisy. What happened there?
Now, apparently no one did it, according to the,
To the
Swedish investigation. Yeah, we're just going to stop investigating this.
I mean, that is stunning, isn't it? It's up there with Exxon Valdez, in terms of environmental disaster.
And it was a deliberate act of sabotage.
And it destroyed Germany's economy for a bit. And it was really fucking bad. It was a really nasty act of terrorism.
But just, watch where watch the concrete movements of things, the things that don't have any narrative on them. When you see warships sailing into the Mediterranean, that's not a narrative. That's just a thing that is happening. That's an objective fact. When there are bombs being dropped on Gaza, that's an objective fact. You mute the narrative and you look at the actual material, physical movements of matter. Watch where the money's going, watch where the resources are going, and watch where the weapons are going and how they're being used.
Right. And sometimes that can require a little deeper dive too.
Yeah, when you see them, it's really good to pay attention to, because when you see them amassing war machine on the border of Russia and China, there's all these narratives about why they got to be doing that and why anything the party does in response to war machinery on its border is this completely unprovoked act of violence. But if you're just muting the narratives and looking at what is actually happening, things get a lot clearer.
Right, yeah. If you're keeping an eye on that, then you will see a heat map of where things are warming up, which was why we had been screaming for years that there was going to be a war with Russia. Because there were so many provocations, buzzing on borders and bringing in tanks and just lining up, staring.
Sanctions. Shredded treaties, all these things, nuclear posture reviews. We didn't think it would be with Ukraine in 2022. That caught us kind of by surprise that was the spark.
Yeah.
But we were warning about it for years. Something's going to happen.
Right, yeah.
And there were a lot of people who did pick up on the Ukraine thing, like John Mearsheimer. There's videos of him in 2015 saying, yeah, Ukraine's going to get wrecked.
Right.
We're leading Ukraine down the primrose path, and the end result is going to be Ukraine's going to get wrecked.
Right.
Now it is. The whole fucking generation of men has been destroyed.
Yeah.
Thrown into the meat grinder.
For fuck all in terms of Ukraine's benefit.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Westward1 asks, across the world, are there any people you admire offering inspiration and hope?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just watching a little video of Code Pink in the halls.
Aren't they great?
Aren't they? In the halls of Congress?
Yeah, probably. The Capitol building.
Yeah.
That's where they're usually hounding people.
Right. With Susan Sarandon there.
Oh, cool.
Singing Ceasefire Now. Just...
Oh, yeah, I've seen, she's been, Medea Benjamin especially, has just been tearing through them lately,
Right.
going after Pelosi and everything. And there's all these videos of her and her Code Pink people hounding everyone, this and that congressman as they're trying to make their way to the office or whatever.
Yeah, it's so inspiring.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. Those people should not have a moment's peace.
No, yeah, yeah.
You don't get to just chill and have a nice cup of tea while you're committing a genocide.
I just love that, they've been Code Pink for years and years before the Barbie movie. I just wonder if you were some sort of guy in Congress, if you were a senator, or you would have an instinctual revulsion towards the color pink, wouldn't you, after a while? Because if you looked out into the audience and you saw someone in a pink T-shirt, you knew shit was going down. That's how it goes. And then Barbie, the movie, came up and suddenly everyone is wearing pink. Everything is pink.
That's probably
surrounded by
a
it.
twitchy couple of months for them.
Yeah, so they're wonderful. I love the young people. I'm constantly inspired by what they're doing and how clearly they see things. And I love going on TikTok and looking up Free Palestine hashtag and seeing what people are talking about and how they see things from all sorts of different angles as well. Like, not just from the geopolitical, but from the social and all the ways. So they're fantastic.
That's so encouraging.
About the Palestinians.
Palestinians are very inspiring.
Fuck yeah. I mean, courage is made there. I actually found out that, that famous phrase, like everything is made in China except courage is made in Palestine. Yeah. And it's often attributed to Anthony Bourdain. Well, apparently no one really knows where it came from.
Oh.
Someone tweeted that out, but
There's a lot of quotes like that.
Yeah. Yeah. In all of this tragedy and the awful things that we've all had to see and witness coming out of Gaza, there has also been these little vignettes of just family and solidarity and love. Like one video that comes to mind, I know this is quite a famous video and most people would have seen it, of the father kissing his daughter one last time, opening her eyes so he could see into her eyes and calling her the soul of his soul. And that little girl, one of the details of that really stood out to me was just how beautifully her hair was done.
How caring.
How caring and how loving that the people around her had been to get her hair perfectly parted and brushed into two.
Because she had curly
buffs.
Hair too, right?
Yeah.
The curly girls' hair can be
really
very time
difficult.
consuming.
Yeah,
right?
it can. Yeah, it takes a lot of time and a lot of yelling and stuff. It's like little kids don't like getting their hair brushed at the best of times, and here, these people are living at on the very edge of hell. There's bombings everywhere, and most of them are not in their own home. Getting a comb out and getting a little girl to sit down in front of you while you get her hair in order is just such an act of love, yeah. Moments like that, there really is something unique about the Palestinian people, and something I yearn for, a love of home, like a sense of home. We're mostly displaced people, white people.
Right. We don't have that indigenous connection to the land.
We feel like aliens generally because we are. Like we're not where we should be.
Yeah, there's always like this sort of dissonance, but just in the background. We don't think about it most of the time, but when we see indigenous people really living
in relationship,
having a relationship with the land.
Yeah.
There's just this deep yearn that goes back hundreds of thousands of years in us.
Right. Yeah.
I want to go to there.
Yeah, and that yearn comes up in me a lot, especially.
And we try to fill that hole with like fucking spirituality and religion and nonsense, and it's not the same thing.
And real estate and things like that. Like, we've got some really sick ideas
Money.
about turning property into money. And it just, rather than actually just a relationship with the land and knowing, where the sun comes up and where the moon falls, and where is best for the crops. And
when the wind's coming from a certain direction, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Is it going to be cooler that afternoon or not? Like when the rains come, having that knowledge about your own place. We don't place any emphasis on that, really. So there's so much lack of connection, I think, in us, in white people. We just don't really understand what it is to be home. But the Palestinians do. And when you see them create home, out of tarp and
home and
wire.
community, there's a really strong sense of community, even though their community is rubble.
Right. And community and beauty in just simple things like sharing a meal, a very simple, humble meal, usually some bread and perhaps some tomatoes. There's very little going around now, but they will present it perfectly and they will all sit with such patience and share it. So there's been lots of lessons for me to learn, really, that have been nothing to do with geopolitics. Because in a lot of ways, it has been shocking every day. I'm not going to say that we did know what Israel was.
Yeah, we're not too cool to admit there's stuff that surprised us.
Oh, yeah. And probably every day.
No fucking way. There's no fucking way they did that. Oh, yeah, they totally did.
Right.
Like, did you hear about that deal where the IDF sent a guy in handcuffs, a Palestinian guy, into a hospital and told them to evacuate because they're going to bomb the hospital, because that's what they do. They bomb the hospital.
He was the messenger?
He was the messenger. They told him, go into the hospital in handcuffs. And they said, go into the hospital, tell them to evacuate because we're about to bomb it, and then come back out here. He did everything that they told him to do. And then when he came back out to them, they executed him on the spot. They just killed him.
Fuck.
He was no threat. He was in handcuffs. They just, I guess, didn't feel like dealing with him or whatever. So they just executed him, according to eyewitnesses.
What? That's a war crime. But yeah, so the Palestinians have been inspiring to me in so many different ways. In all the aspects. And that was surprising to me. That was something that I wasn't expecting, a masterclass in how to live when encountering such grief and violence and ongoing slaughter and tragedy. In amongst all of this, there has been this strong presence of family and love and community that's just, kind of underpins everything. And this belief in something greater than themselves as well. I think that very much...
Yeah, they really embody their spirituality. It's very much a thing for them. It's not just this nifty little feel-good thing that they check off in their mental box. They check off a little mental box in their minds that says, oh yeah, I believe that. Thumbs up to Jesus or whatever.
Right, no.
It's their life.
Yeah.
It colors the way they talk and everything they say and the way they live their life from moment to moment.
Yeah. It really does give them a lot of strength and a context to put all of this agony in. They understand that their lives are fleeting. And that's just the truth. Very few of them will enjoy an older age, and yet the struggle continues, and that they're doing this not just for themselves or their current family, but they're doing this, for future generations as well. So, yeah, I'm really inspired by the Palestinians. I'm also really inspired by the anti-Zionist Jews.
Oh, they've been the superstars. Really, they've been so good.
There's courage and there's courage.
Yeah, and they're just so forceful about it and articulate, and they make arguments so incisively
and insightfully.
Yeah,
from the inside, I think, of the mind virus. They understand what particularly the diaspora has been brought up with. like the stories that they've been told and the reasons they've been told why Israel is so important. And they can really shine lights on all the different aspects of that story and why it doesn't hold water.
Yeah, Jewish Voice for Peace have been so inspiring.
Really have been, yeah. And
Other groups like them, they've been great. And just the individuals, the Mates.
The Martes. I mean, yeah, like we could probably talk about
Medea Benjamin.
Benjamin,
I think that's
you know.
why Medea Benjamin has been such a pistol, like even more so than usual lately. She really seems to take this. She has a personal vested interest in bringing this to a halt.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's that it's personal for
yeah.
Jewish people.
Yeah.
This is like, don't do that in my name.
Right. Well, and and don't put my safety at risk as well.
Right.
For the real risk of actual anti-Semitism taking hold and, Jewish people being held accountable for these heinous war crimes. Because there has been this deliberate conflation of Zionism and Judaism.
That Israel is built on.
Yeah, and they insist that what they're doing is in the Jewish name. It's not, and it's very dangerous to say that it is.
Yeah, they're flying a Star of David over these mass atrocities, these crimes against humanity, while insisting that their actions are not separable from the Jewish faith and the Jewish people. That's going to turn public opinion against Jewish people in a way that could wind up being dangerous someday.
Yeah.
If I was a Jewish person, I would really take offense to that, and I would do everything I can to stop it.
Right.
And a lot of them are, and they're doing a really brilliant job of it. And in the face of probably a lot more public backlash than we get, like we don't really have to fight with our families about it or
friends
anything.
about it,
Or
yeah.
people we've known our whole lives.
Yeah.
It's not this thing that our community is built around.
Yeah, or this third rail that you just never, ever talk about,
Right.
It's a really brave and courageous thing to do.
Yeah, they're pushing against so much more than we are, and they're with such fire,
Yeah, yeah.
such passion.
Yeah, and efficacy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very effective. The things that they have to say are they're better at it than we are.
Right,
Or
yeah.
anyone else. They're just very, very effective
Yeah.
in their arguments.
Yeah.
Shall we wrap?
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Do it again in a few days.
yeah. Post Assange. I don't know what will happen there.
Yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about, I guess, next time.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully good things.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, folks.
Bye.
Bye.